It is 7 o'clock on Wednesday, November 18th, and I'd like to welcome you all to our Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society speaker series. This is a free event that we offer to members and the general public, well, especially now we're having to do this via Zoom for obvious reasons, but it's turned out to be a good thing for us because we're getting people from literally all over the world joining our speaker series. And especially tonight, we're going to have John Richardson speaking to us about Tanzania. And I want to take a moment and tell you that Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society has been around since 1925. And we have dedicated ourselves to the conservation of birds and the education of birds and the protection of their habitat that entire time. And we have a really rich education program. We have a conservationist aspect to us with a full-time environmental advocate. We have projects all over the Bay Area, all over the county rather, Santa Clara County. And in a normal year, we reach close to 2,000 students, elementary school students, every year with our school programs. And our field trips are open to the general public. And everybody here is welcome to attend when we resume the field trips. But in the meantime, we're having more efforts placed into Zoom meetings, remote and virtual field trips and such. So as soon as field trips resume, we'll be back to normal and everybody's invited. But until then, we're trying to make trips available in a different sense on our website. So take a look at our website, take a look at our YouTube channel, and you'll see what I mean. There's lots of material there for everybody to enjoy. Now, getting back to John for a second, I've known John for now about a year and a half. When I came on board as the executive director, he was already on the board of directors. And I made it a point to meet all the board members by inviting them to lunch at the ranch. And looking at John's bio and having met him only once, I was a little daunted. He was very reserved, and I was afraid that he wasn't going to like me. So I tried to cook a meal for him that I thought he would enjoy. So looking at his website, I noticed that the only place that he had not been that I happened to know how to cook a dish from was Ethiopia. So I made Ngorongoro, which is kind of a chicken stew, and I served it with injera, which is an Ethiopian bread. And generally, you pick it up with a little fingerful, and you pop that little fingerful of injera and the chicken stew in your mouth. John, on the other hand, I've never been to Ethiopia, I can't blame him, but he rolled it up like a burrito. And I thought that was hilarious. It actually worked a lot better, John. So I'm going to have to do that in the future. But anyway.
Creature of our environment here.
Yeah. I have to say, John is one of my favorite people, one of my favorite board members, in fact. He's incredibly open to new ideas. He's a powerful member of the development committee and the board in general. He's reserved when he speaks in the board meetings, but when he does speak, you better make sure you're listening because what he says is powerful, important, and valuable. So, John, I want to thank you for being such a fabulous part of the chapter and the board. I've so enjoyed getting to know you and learning about your travels. You have been to more places on the planet than I probably will ever go, and certainly now, but I'm hoping to get to a fraction of the places you've been. And I'm really looking forward to your presentation on Tanzania. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to John, but I'd like to inform everybody that if at any time you have a question that you'd like to ask, place it in the chat, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen. When you click on that, it'll open up a panel. You can type in a question. Barry and I will look at the questions and ask them of John toward the end. But we've muted everybody so there's not a big overlap of sounds. And at the end, we'll have time for some questions. And this is also being recorded. So we'll place it on our website as soon as this is over. And then you can watch it at your leisure. So I'm going to hand it over to you, John, and you should get a message now saying you've got the steering wheel. So take it away.
All right. Okay. So thank you all for coming. And I hope that at the end of this little presentation, everybody will have a better feel for the sheer depth, the history, the geology, the wildlife of this incredible area in sub-Saharan East Africa. So let's go to the first one here. So Tanzania has a border on the Indian Ocean, Kenya up to the north, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Zaire, Zambia, and Mozambique. So it's surrounded by many countries, and they all share a lot of the same history because before the colonial white man arrived, there were a lot of tribalism and a lot of movement of peoples back into time immemorial. Tanzania is really, you can probably call it the birthplace of humanity. And it's been proven at Olduvai Gorge by, first of all, by Mary Leakey and, what's his name? Lewis Leakey. They were the ones that found evidence of humans that have, well, proto-humans, the Australopithecus, which was, they dated him to about 3.5 million years ago. And there are 7 levels at Olduvai Gorge that have been uncovered by an ancient river. And this used to be, Olduvai Gorge used to be a lake at one time. And the lake, due to geologic activity, volcanism in the area, that lake became a river, and the river uncovered multiple layers. And in each one of those layers, there were 7 layers. Each one of those layers exposed another chapter of human evolution. So it's a fascinating place to go to. They've got a wonderful natural center there with some experienced guides that can sit you down and talk your way through it. And it's just one of the many wonderful places that that open up to you when you're up in, we were up in the northern part of Tanzania on this last trip before COVID hit. And so all the way around Olduvai Gorge, around the Serengeti area, there's an area of tremendous volcanism. One of the largest, well, actually the largest volcano, the highest volcano in the world, Mount Kilimanjaro, over 19,300 feet, is found there. And it's wonderful. You have to fly right into Arusha. That's where the airport is. And from there, you're just in the heart of this incredible area. Serengeti National Park is one of the largest parks in Tanzania. So here's just a smattering of the parks. These parks are really big, and that's a credit to the Tanzanian government. A lot of thought went into this to protect these areas, but it didn't come easily. There are 120 different tribes in Tanzania. 5 major tribes, and one of which is the Maasai, which are found up in the north. And they claimed the Serengeti. They still do, but they're kept out, and they're given concessions, you know, for that. But they've been able to, you know, secure the Serengeti Plain and Ngorongoro area, Lake Manyara, and the Arusha National Park, to tourism. So it's all protected. It's a huge area. You can get out in the Serengeti, and it is absolutely a green sea. All you see are animals. You don't see contrails. You don't see telephone lines. Nothing. Just you really feel like you're going back in time. So, geologically speaking, I just wanted to show, I've got a couple plates here that I wanted to show how there's a geologic condition out there called the Great Rift Valley. And it starts up here and it moves down to the, and there's a rift right here, and it ends with the Indian Ocean, but it eventually is going to cleave this area off from the African continent. And what you're going to get is this piece of Africa, probably in about 2 million years, this will cleave itself off from Africa, and it will be its own landmass, quite a landmass. So I wanted to just take you back in time to some of the old tribal areas in Africa before the advent of European invasion. And the area around Tanzania that encompassed Tanzania and Kenya and probably up into Mozambique was called Punt. And Punt was mentioned by the Egyptian pharaohs way back when in the 25th dynasty. And they took numerous trips down there to trade with the people of Punt, and they were able to get gold, but especially incense, frankincense, myrrh, and ebony, highly prized in Egyptian society and also for funerary activities. So, so that's Punt. Kush is the upper Nile Delta. It's where the White and the Blue Nile meet in Kush, and then they eventually flow out into the Mediterranean. So this is what happens when Europe came in and kind of cleaved Africa up into their own little fiefdoms. Tanzania was German East Africa for a couple hundred years. And after World War I, around 1920, during the, when the great powers are divvying up land, German East Africa was given to the Brits. So the Brits had control of that from about 1920 till Tanzania claimed independence in 1961. And they were pretty amazed at what the Germans did when they had control of, at that time it was Tanganyika. It wasn't Tanzania, it was Tanganyika. And the Germans had put in railways, they had put in some rule of law, they put in schools. And so when the Brits came in, they were very surprised and very impressed. But during World War I, many people don't know this, but there were actually wars going on at different borders. So the Germans were fighting the Brits, and the Belgians were involved. It was really quite something, and most people don't know that. It wasn't. So like I said, there are about 120 different tribes in Tanzania, and God knows how they were able to create a country out of this. But in 1961, they took the name Tanganyika and combined that with Zanzibar, and they came up with Tanzania. And Zanzibar is an island off the coast here. And pretty amazing though, 120 different tribes. There's 5 major tribes called the Sakuma, the Chaga, the Maasai, the Hadza, and the Arak. So this is a woman from one of the smaller tribes, Ahaya. Very beautiful, all made up. This is a Berbeg woman. There are some, the main language in Tanzania is Swahili, and Swahili was a trade language that came in from Zanzibar and the Arabian Peninsula. And that has become the national language. But there are all these other different languages that are spoken there. Every person is from a tribe there, and they're very proud of the tribes that they're from. The Hadza is our tribe down in, well, they're found in around Lake Tanganyika. And the main thing about these different tribes is that it's been a kind of a push-pull over the years. You know, the colonialists brought new ways of looking at things, and the Africans went along with it. They had to, but they really hunkered down into their own cultures, their own individual cultures. So they're very proud of where they're from, and you can tell by their different costumes. These are the Maasai warriors. Their Maasai are characteristic of the tartan colored cloaks that they wear, and they always carry a spear. And they have these wonderful dances. So if you go into their villages, and when you're traveling through there, they encourage you to go into the villages, and they show you around. But they also sing. And so men and women sing, and the men, one of their dances is they jump high up into the air. They have incredible, I mean, they could join the NBA. I mean, they've got incredible spring in those legs. Chaga women, beautiful costumes, and the Chaga man. So, since it's Audubon, we might as well get started with some birds. And one of the most primitive birds, this can be traced back to the Miocene, almost 30 million years ago, is the ostrich. And these ostriches are they're amazing animals. They can run sustained speed of over 30 miles an hour, and they can push it to 50 if they have to. They reach a weight of over 300 pounds, 300 to 400 pounds. They're about the big males are about 9 feet tall, and so they're anywhere from 7 to 9 feet tall. And you don't want to get too close to these guys, because they can, if they don't run from you, they will stand and challenge you, and they can disembowel you with their claws. So they kick out. They don't kick back. They kick forward with these claws, and they can disembowel you very easily. So they have predators out there in the savanna. This is where they live, out in the open savanna. They generally are by themselves in small groups, but they can reach groups of 60 to 100. So they eat mostly insects. They love grasshoppers, locusts. They'll eat lizards, and their skin is prized for. They use it as leather. You shoot these things, and they use them as leather, and they use their feathers for decorative purposes. So there's another bird that we saw at Lake Manyara out on the marsh areas called the Black Heron, and this is a kind of amazing bird. The way this is called mantling, the way they open their feathers, and you can see the head top knots showing out the top. So they all of a sudden open their wings, and it disturbs the fish. The fish don't know quite what to do, and they know what they're doing, and they usually come up with a fish. But they have these big claw-like feet so they can move around in shallow water. There's another bird that's found in East Africa called the hammerkop, and this was named by the Dutch, who thought their head looked like a hammer, so hammerkop. It's right now they're mating. It may be just a fake mating. They do that. It's not true mating, but they just practice. But anyway, I don't know if this is a real mating that was going on there, but I thought it was pretty cool. Their nests are very distinctive. They weigh up to 200 pounds, and it takes them months to make. And there's other animals that live in their nests that bore holes in the bottom of the nests and live there. So there's a lot of symbiosis going on. Here he is again. They're usually along streams. They eat fish and insects. So when we were there in January of this year, this was the time when the white storks arrived from Europe, and they spend the winter there, and they fly back up to Europe. And you've probably seen them in chimneys and other spots in European architecture. But I thought this is pretty cool. At night, they roost together. There's another pretty cool water bird called the saddle-billed stork. I just really love the marking of its bill and how it's standing. It sits on its knees, and the feet are pointing forward. That's unusual. So the marabou stork, it's kind of the cleanup boy on the beat. When there's a kill out on the savanna, you usually find a marabou stork, lurking around. And the reason they have a lot of bare skin there is they like to stick their head and their neck into the carcass to find anything loose that they can pull out. But that's after the big guys have been through it. The animal, they usually come in afterwards, after all the other animals have fed on it. Greater flamingos are found there, and they have a very distinctive beak, a filter. They're a filter feeder, so they stick that beak down. That's a lesser flamingo. And the Egyptian geese are found, they're fairly plentiful. They're not vulnerable, but they're very colorful. And the black-winged kite is very similar to our white-winged kite. Only they've got black on the top of their wings. And they hover. They do the same mannerisms as our white-winged kites here. They just have black tinged wing. And there's another bird that's found out in the savanna called the secretary bird. Now these birds are under threat because their habitat is impinged upon. But they spend most of their time, running around the savanna. They don't really like to fly. They're a big bird. They're about 4 or 5 feet tall. And you can see they have very distinctive leggings. And the way they catch food is that they tromp on it. They stomp on things, and then they eat it. And they have a very interesting beak. It's an eagle type beak, and you wouldn't want to get in their crosshairs. And they don't fly all that much, but when they do, she's coming off of a nest. They usually nest in the top of these thorn bushes, thorn trees. They have huge, so this is a lappet-faced vulture. And these guys are the big ones on the block. When they come in, all the other vultures kind of make way for them. And the reason why is because they have these huge beaks that will open up a carcass. And it makes it easier for the other vultures to come in and dab at what's left. Very, very strong birds, very huge birds. Lappet-faced vulture, or otherwise called the Nubian vulture. It's a pallid harrier. There's going to be a lot of raptors that I'll show here because they just love the savanna. They love getting in these thorn trees and looking around for mice and voles and snakes, eastern chanting goshawk. This is called an auger buzzard. Auger buzzard in flight. And this is a tawny eagle. Lots of tawny eagles, and they're a predator bird. A battleur is also an eagle, and I just think they have a very distinctive, beautiful color to them. This is an immature battleur. It's a long crested eagle. Notice I took a number of these at a place called Ndudu, which if Doug and Gail are watching, which I think they are, this is one of their favorite places to go in the world. And it is a spectacular place to go for birds, for wildlife. You just look out the front of your cottage, and there's the migration happening. The wildebeest and zebras right outside your door, lions. Martial eagle. Martial eagle is one of the only eagles that are able to take down an ostrich, an immature ostrich. It's a striking predator. It's not quite the same size as a harpy eagle, but it's not that far off. Greater kestrels in an acacia thorn tree on the savanna. And this is one of the smallest, if not the smallest, falcon in the world. I saw another small falcon called the falconet in Sumatra, but this might be smaller, but I'm not sure about that. You see a lot of these guys, the helmeted guinea fowl. They have this protrusion off the top of their head, and the bare skin, blue skin, and red, and the spotting. So out on the Serengeti plains, you'll see a lot of different birds that are ground birds. And this is called a francolin, a gray-breasted francolin. And this is called a redneck spurfowl. And an African jacana. It's we have a jacana here in our neotropics on this hemisphere. This is a little bit different in marking, but it does the same things. Lives in marshes. This gray crowned crane is, this was found at Angorgo Crater. The gray crowned crane is kind of ubiquitous with the Serengeti. They're all over East Africa. I saw them in Uganda. A beautiful bird with that crown. This is the heaviest flying bird in certainly Africa. I don't know about the world, but certainly in Africa, Cory Buster. And he right now is displaying. He puts his tail up and he fluffs up his neck, and his whole top knot goes straight up. And he's a big bird. He's like 5 feet tall, and like I say, very heavy. And one of those birds you just don't want to mess with. He has an attitude. The white-bellied bustard is another ground bird found in Serengeti. And the heartlob's bustard. And they have something called a pied avocet. Kind of like our American avocet, but just a little bit different in marking. Lives the same way though. They have that long beak that filters small crustaceans out of the water. This is a spotted thickney. We have thickneys down in northern South America. I've seen there's a thickney in Peru that I've seen. And they have something called the courser, another family of birds, ground birds. This is a double-banded courser. And this is a three-banded courser. Just, quite distinctive markings. And they have lapwings there too, the spur-winged lapwing. And this is something called a black-faced sand grouse. They're beautiful markings. This is a male and female. And they have doves. This is a emerald spotted wood dove and a laughing dove. And I went and tried to do some research on why they call it laughing dove. And I guess it's just maybe how it sounds, but it didn't sound like it was laughing to me. But, they've got a few parrots. This is called a Myers Parrot. I didn't really see too many on this trip. They're usually up high in a tree, and they get blown out against the bright sky. They have something called a Fisher's lovebird, and these are small little parrot-like birds, and they form social groups. They're usually found in large groups, and they're talking frequently. This is a mating pair, and looks like there's probably somebody, maybe a relative watching over them. I'm not sure, but it's a mating pair, and they have a cavity in the tree. And they also have family birds called turacos. And this is one turaco called a white-bellied go-away bird. And the reason they call it a go-away bird is because it has a really, really loud call, and it makes you want to leave quickly. So this is another white-bellied go-away bird feeding. And this is a barefaced go-away bird. Very creamy top knot. And unfortunately, this is a gorgeous cuckoo, Diederich cuckoo. But so this is about as best as I could do. I had to show it because it was just so striking. Yeah, this is another cuckoo called white-browed cuckoo in the cuckoo family. And we've seen him before. He's in other places in the Serengeti and also Uganda, but it's a pretty common bird. Another not uncommon bird, it's a Varro's eagle owl. During the day, and his lids are pretty heavy. He just wanted to sleep, and I was bothering him. But his lids are pink, as you can see, bare skin. There's a family of birds called mouse birds. And the reason they call them mouse birds, I think, is because they're always moving. It's hard to find them staying in one spot for very long. They're always scuttling about up in the tops of trees. So this is a speckled mouse bird. And this is a blue nape mouse bird. And my favorite bird is the kingfisher family. And so this is a striped kingfisher. This is a forest kingfisher, so it doesn't go near water. It has a perch about 10 feet high, and it swoops down and grabs lizards, beetles, insects. And it's a woodland kingfisher. And again, it's not generally found around water, and they go after the same thing that the striped kingfisher goes for, just striking colors. The malachite kingfisher is found, however, around water. So this was found at Lake Minyara. The reason they call it malachite is because it has that kind of a blue-green top to it, pretty striking colors. Small bird, it's about 5 inches. And they have another family of birds there all over East Africa called the bee eaters. And they catch bees on the wing. This is a cinnamon-chested bee eater. And this is probably male and female, and they're hunting in tandem. You see, one is showing off a bee that it just caught. This is a European bee eater. And these made their way up into Europe, so they have made some inroads into Southern Europe, but they're mostly found down in East Africa. This is a blue-cheeked bee eater, resting. And this is something called a lilac-breasted roller, which is found a lot out in the plains, and they usually perch up in bushes, and they're looking for anything moving on the ground so they can swoop down and grab it, like beetles, like lizards, anything they think they can handle. They're always hungry. Here's a different view of it. Quite a gorgeous bird, as are all rollers. This is a European roller, and this has made inroads into Europe, and it comes down in the wintertime into East Africa. This is something called a hoopoe, and I've seen him before, but just not displaying. He has this incredible top knot, and they use that sharp beak to stick in the ground and come back with worms and insects and so forth. Hornbills are found, throughout Asia and Africa, and these are just two of the ones that I saw: the northern red-billed hornbill and the Vanderdecken's hornbill. And this is a Vanderdeckens that just came up with a scarab beetle, or otherwise known as a dung beetle. Really tough to get through, but this guy just worked and worked and worked and smashed it, and finally got to the good parts. But it took him quite a while to get through this thing. This is a female Vanderdeckens, with a little larva. And the silvery-cheeked hornbill. This is just, there's so many hornbills. Probably the place with the most hornbills in the world is probably Borneo. And it's a southern ground hornbill, the largest hornbill in Africa. And they have some beautiful barbets down there. This is another family of beautiful birds. The reason they call them barbets because they have barbs that stick out over their beak. Darnodes barbet. Usambiro barbet. And this is the red and yellow barbet. So this is probably, this is an iconic bird of East Africa. And if you can get a picture of it, you're really lucky. Just, beautiful all the way around. And they have a wide assortment of woodpeckers. This is a Nubian. And this African gray. And out on you'll find this this particular lark always singing out there. So it's a rufous-naped lark, and somehow looks like he's getting pinched by one of those thorns, but they know what they're doing. This is a rosy-throated longclaw. And now we're into the flycatchers, African dusky with a, looks like he has a moth. And something called a chin spot batis. This is the male. And this is the female. Personally, I think the female is more beautiful. And this is simply called a silverbird. And these are northern pied babblers, male and female. And so they have some convergent evolution going on in Africa and Asia. They have sunbirds, whereas we have hummingbirds. So they've got sunbirds, they've got a couple others that are strictly nectar feeders. And the sunbirds are typically incredibly iridescent, gorgeous in the sunlight. This is a variable sunbird. And another bird that's found, another family of bird that's found out in the Serengeti are the fiscals. So this is a long-tailed fiscal. This is a gray-backed fiscal. This is a pair of northern white-crowned shrikes. Isabelline shrike, red-backed shrike. And then they have a bird called an oxpecker, a yellow-billed and a red-billed oxpecker. And they pick, lice and other insects off of the grazing animals out in the Serengeti. But principally, they suck blood. So they it's a good source of iron and other. So there they are on a buffalo. A rumpled starling and a superb starling and a Hildebrandt starling and a white-headed buffalo weaver. So the weavers are another family out there that were able to weave these intricate nests, and they're extremely social. So here's their intricate nest. It's like a beautiful orb. The Vitiline Weaver, Speaks Weaver, Baglafec Weaver, and red-billed Quelea. It's not very well liked by the local people because it comes in and there's no shortage of them. They run in the millions, and they will eat crops. So they have to try to control them. White-winged widowbird, fan-tailed widowbird, southern red bishop, which I think we've actually seen around here, an escaped exotic. And they have these beautiful finches in East Africa. This is called the blue-capped cordon bleu with nest material. And this is called the purple grenadier male. So I just wanted to just show you a little bit of the migration pattern and the time of year is best to go there. So when we were in the Serengeti in January, the wildebeest and the zebra were on the move. So they were going from west or east to west. So this is a bearded or blue wildebeest. And the interesting thing about these is that they're always on the move. They hardly ever stop. And they stop for food, for grassland, and they keep going and going, you know, for the green grass. When they have a child, when they have a newborn pops out, and he's immediately running. This is a plain zebra. Newborn. Kirk's dik-dik. It's a very small ungulate. And you can see right in front of his eye there's a gland, and that secretes pheromones. This is an impala. This is beautiful ungulates out there, and of course they're preyed on by all the different, the cats, the leopards, the lions, the cheetahs. Water bucks. The water bucks have to be near water. Most of the other ungulates out on the plains don't necessarily need a water source. They get their water from the plants. This is one of my favorites, a topi. Just the markings are so beautiful. The blue and the copper. And this is one of the only plains antelopes that have been able to be domesticated, the eland. And the Maasai giraffe. And these are two giraffes, two male bulls that are exhibiting, they're feuding over a harem. African bush elephant, they have to they have to make themselves dusty and this is to discourage the flies from going through their skin and eating them, and also it acts as a sunscreen. So the elephants have a matriarchal society, and they're very, very keen to protect their young. This is a big male bull that challenged our car, so we had to exit quickly. This is a black rhino. There are very few black rhinos left. There were, in Africa, there were white and black rhinos. Most of the whites have been wiped out. They were larger than the blacks. And a lot of the blacks have been wiped out too, except in the parks. And buffaloes and hippopotamus. These are two, we call them beach masters. They're, at the end of the day, they usually exhibit this sort of behavior where they spar and they also yawn. And you can get a feel for their canines. You don't, hippopotamuses are the most dangerous animal in Africa. There's more humans killed by hippopotamus every year than anything else. So you definitely want to be careful with them if you're in the water. And they do get out of the water at night and they feed their herbivores. And that you don't want to get on that end of it because it does have a way of excreting, and it swishes it around with its tail. So it's quite messy. This is at Angorgo Crater. This is the largest caldera in I think in the world. It's 100 square miles. And you'll find most of the animals or in Africa, in East Africa, are found here, except for giraffe. And the reason why is the walls of the crater are too steep for the giraffe to negotiate. But everything else, it supports prides of several prides of about 60 lions. So these lions just came right towards us, and they're used to seeing vehicles. I wouldn't want to be out walking, but they're used to seeing vehicles, and they walk right up to you. They also will climb trees. The cheetah, or not the cheetah, but the lion and the leopard will climb trees. The leopard being a far better climber than a lion. This is a lioness at a fresh kill we saw one morning. And this is a leopard. Leopards can leap 10 feet, and they will typically carry their prey with them up into the tree, and that's where they cache their kills. And they will cache it and come back later for it. Beautiful animal. So I put a slide in to kind of compare the two with the Brazilian jaguar. You can see that the rosettes on the back are different. And the jaguar is a bigger animal, but they're somewhat similar. This is a cheetah. You'll find the cheetah to be on the plains, and they usually go in family groups, hunt in family groups, and they have this stripe that comes down out of their eye, down around their mouth, and they think this is used for focusing on prey, and also for shadowing sunlight. This is a mother and its young, stretching, just like a house cat. So these are 3 brothers, according to our guide, and we saw 2 kills by cheetahs, and they were both jackrabbits. Unfortunately, no ungulates, but so here they're tearing a jackrabbit apart. and that's a fresh kill. Cheetahs can run up to 70 kilometers an hour, or about 55 miles an hour. They can't hold that speed forever, but they can certainly chase some things down. This is another cat that's found out on the plains called a serval. And you'll see bat-eared foxes. The large ears are mainly to get rid of heat. And they can also directionalize sound too. Here's a family. And jackals are found all over the plains. This is a golden jackal, black-backed jackal, a tired jackal, a spotted hyena or a laughing hyena are found throughout, and they're very social, extremely smart. They travel in packs, and they can be a carnivore, but they usually hunt. They're really good hunters, and they will bring down antelope, ungulates, and other things. So they've got extremely strong jaws. They're called a bone cracker, and they eat everything, every part of the animal. You can see they have this really thick neck. A few primates we saw. One was a blue monkey, one was a vervet, olive baboon. These are pretty ubiquitous. Rock hyrax found throughout, usually in rock formations out on the plains. And the mongoose, dwarf mongoose, banded mongoose. And there's a few chameleons. Nothing like Madagascar, but there's a few chameleons there. The flap-neck chameleon. And the agama lizard, this is a rock lizard. They're not uncommon. This is the male. And then this is the parting shot of the Angorgo Crater. And it is steep to get down there. There's a large lake. So it supports quite a bit of wildlife down there. There's lots of wildlife that come in and out of this crater, but they have to climb the walls. That's why giraffes are unable to do it. And that's a nice parting shot with the rainbow. So that's it. I hope you all enjoyed it.
John, that was amazing.
So I'm sorry, I apologize. I just had a little bit too much. But,
no, not at all. Not at all. It was incredibly interesting. You want to hand over the controls again?
I'm trying to find where the participants are. Here's the participants.
Yeah, go in participants and just hand back the
I can't find it.
Uh,
Oh, I know. We have to stop sharing the screen first. Okay.
yeah, there you go.
There we go.
there we
Okay.
go.
All right.
Yeah, so just hand back the controls, but I'm going to talk. We have a bunch of questions that have shown up, and I wonder if Barry and I can kind of share duties on that. Well, I'm going to ask one question. Sure. It's my question to you is, I've never been to Africa, and I desperately want to go, and I'm wondering whether Tanzania is a place you would recommend for me, or whether you would recommend someplace else that you know about.
Oh, I think Tanzania has just about everything in it. It's just like I said, it's multi-layered. Mm-hmm. It's fairly safe, mm-hmm. And there's one or two guide companies that we know that we put a lot of trust in. I think, it depends on the time of year you go, but it's, they just had an election in Tanzania. So they have a president who's kind of an autocrat. But I don't think that's not going to have much of an effect on tourism, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the questions that that someone else raised. What time of year would you recommend? And
February.
when have you been there?
February.
February is the time, huh?
Yeah.
And that is because of weather?
Migrations, the calving, the bird life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything is vivid. The Serengeti plains are green, so that's definitely a time to go.
And so, what were the weather conditions like when you were there? Primarily, was it
Beautiful? It was gorgeous.
Thanks.
Not much, hardly any rain, and just you know, it wasn't super hot during the day. It was, you know, probably 80s, low 80s. Very comfortable.
Are the seasons very pronounced there? You're quite close to the equator.
No, it's pretty static. There is a rainy season, so you kind of want to stay clear of that because you can't really drive the vehicles, you know, out. What you do is you literally pull off the road and you drive across the green savanna.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not near a road. You're just you're out in the sea of grass.
Yeah,
looking for animals.
Oh, wow. And how I know you, it seems, so I've been looking at, as you've spoken, I've been looking at my birds of Africa south of the Sahara. And there are a lot of birds in there. And I was also following along occasionally in the brand new book, All the Birds of the World.
Nice.
So it was amazing, the number of species that you saw. I don't even have a book on mammals, but you saw so many birds on your trips. And I'm wondering, how many trips did it take you to acquire that huge photo collection of birds specifically?
Oh, well, I try to, you know, it's just the one trip. I try to like, I just want to focus on, you know, one trip. Like there's one trip to Uganda, one trip to Tanzania, one trip to Madagascar, South Africa. You know, I don't like to mix it up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that is.
How long was your trip?
about 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
An astonishing.
But if I was to go again, I'd go for at least 3 weeks or more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Barry, did you see some other questions on the?
Yeah, let me read through some of the other questions. One of them is, are ostriches a protected species?
No.
They're
No,
not protected.
but,
are they fairly common?
Well, they used to be. They're threatened now.
Right.
Yeah, they're threatened. Yeah,
They're threatened but not protected.
They've noticed there's a 30% loss of their species lately. Yeah, they're not as common as they once were. So
That's too bad.
yeah.
Do you know if the tribes that hunt ostriches for feathers and hide also eat the meat of the ostrich?
I'm not sure, Doug. Doug might know more about that than.
We might have to get.
He's trying to talk. Doug, you're muted.
Unmute.
Let me see if I can unmute him, Doug and Gail.
I think he has to unmute himself.
You have to give him credit for getting us there.
I can't tell if I unmuted him or not.
No.
I think when you click, it just requests an unmute.
Well, I just think the ostrich hide, the meat, the feathers. It's a global marketplace. So
well, that's reassuring. I've heard that the ostrich egg has the equivalent of like 35 conventional eggs. Feed an entire family with it.
Right.
I have to ask, because it's been on my mind as I look at this incredible collection of birds. And I'm sorry I'm focusing mostly on birds because I know you saw so many mammals, but I know much less about them. I'm just wondering, was there any species, bird or mammal, that you really wanted to see and couldn't or didn't find on your trip?
no.
Oh, 'cause I was hoping you would say yes, so I'd have
No, I
Gotta go back.
good.
I saw everything. If I could see more kingfishers, that would be great.
Yeah.
More
Mm.
sunbirds, but I just overjoyed with everything that we saw. It was just an amazing trip.
Mm.
I just one of the most remarkable trips I've ever taken.
Oh,
On the topic of eating ostriches, Betsy L mentions they were eaten when I was there long ago. So ostrich meat is apparently food.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, the Australians have something ostrich-like called an emu,
Right.
and then northern South America has something called a rhea,
hmm
all ostrich-like birds, but the African ostrich is the largest of all.
Right. Right. But are they all edible? Probably.
Yeah.
I think actually, are there not two species of ostrich?
Yes, there's a southern ostrich,
Yeah.
and then there's a northern.
Mhm.
So we had the northern ostrich.
Let me see. Oh, so someone was asking, how close were you when you photographed the bull elephant?
Oh, too close. Yeah,
Oh, Doug's unmuted now. He could talk.
yeah, it was. I'd say it was within 30 to 50 feet away from us,
Wow.
and our guide, you know, gave him a couple times. You know, he kind of fainted a couple times, and then he just started moving towards us, and that was the time. You get three chances. It's three and out. So if you're not out of there after three, he's gonna push your car over.
Oh.
So yeah, time to leave. Thank you.
So Doug, you're unmuted now. Was there something you wanted to say?
No, there was a question that I didn't hear. I'm sorry. So, but I'll be glad to answer it. I've been there 80 times, so I know something. And I
Oh my
helped John
goodness.
set. I
I
helped John
guess
set up a trip.
the questions were about eating ostrich meat and whether that was a common thing. And there's been some chat about it too. Apparently there's an American ostrich farm.
Yeah, it's just
So-
you can't overcook it like emu. You just cook it very quickly. You sear it, otherwise it gets
Okay.
really tough. Yeah, just like emu.
I know I've actually had ostrich here in California. It's very, very lean. It's
Yes.
a red meat like filet mignon. So you do have to be really gentle with it when you cook it, but it is delicious.
Right.
But
If anybody has
So-
questions like John, I can answer because Gail, I've been there so many times, and it's our favorite place on the planet. So
Wow.
so-
we're hoping to get there this February, but I don't know with the COVID thing, so we'll see.
so Doug and Gail, is Tanzania your favorite place in Africa?
Yes, hands down.
Hands down. And would you recommend it as a first destination in Africa?
Yes, and as John said, February is an excellent time. March maybe, but February is excellent. Yeah. End of January, early February into March. Yeah.
Well, I think I'll be signing up at some point because I really have.
Man, it's so tempting.
Yeah.
If you have questions about it, it's free. I'd be glad to talk about it. I mean, I love talking about nature, so no worries. Like John.
Thank you. Other comments about ostriches in the comment thread, I just wanted to point out. Carol Ann Graves has seen ostrich eggs for sale at Whole Foods in Cupertino. So you can get somebody said there's an ostrich farm in Gilroy. You can buy the meat there. So ostrich is apparently a common meat, even here in America. So that was interesting. There was one question back. I didn't want to lose it. Do the secretary birds eat snakes?
Oh yes, they love snakes.
You bet.
You bet. It's one of their favorites. They go after. They've been known to go after African cobras, which is one of the most poisonous snakes.
Wow.
Yeah, they have no fear. They have no fear of anything on the ground. Anything on the ground, they stomp it to death and then they eat it.
And are they not related to falcons, or are they related to hawks? They're one or the other.
You're an eagle.
An eagle. Okay.
Huh.
Incredible adaptations. Specialization on that.
Yeah.
I was noticing that the black egret with its bright yellow feet reminded me of snowy egret. So I looked it up quickly, and they are quite closely related. I was wondering, they use their wings to kind of shade the water, and then they open the wings to provoke the fish to move suddenly.
Mhm.
I was wondering, since they are so closely related to snowies, and they do have those bright yellow feet, if you ever saw them using their feet in an interesting way to help coax out fish like snowies do.
Oh boy, I think you'd have to study them longer than we did.
Maybe Doug knows.
Doug might know. I certainly don't.
They certainly use their feet for sure. Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot like snowies?
Sorry?
Probably.
Like snowy egrets?
Similar, yeah.
Interesting. Good. Okay. I'm glad that my suspicion was correct. That they're so similar except for the color of the body, really.
So there was
Yeah,
a
the feathers,
question.
yeah.
A question that came in. Did the guides find everything for you, or did you, or what? I've got pretty good eyesight, so it was kind of a joint thing with our guide. I was finding stuff, and he was finding stuff, so it was a joint affair.
Do the
So,
guides tend to know all of the birds?
But
or-
our guide kind of knew where to go.
And John, you had Yuta, right?
Yuta,
Yeah, he's good. He's really good.
he's good, and his son was the driver.
Right.
So your guides on this trip, did you have one guide per major preserve, or did you have one guide for the entire visit, or how?
One guide for the entire visit. We were just up in the north,
Oh, okay, all right.
so yeah, this guide was with us the entire time. Yeah, and that's what you want.
Of course, yeah,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
makes
You
sense.
have the relationship, with this guide, and the real comfort level means everything.
Yeah.
Was your guide Maasai? Is one of the questions.
No, he was not Maasai. I think he was it was a tribe. I think it was Para, the tribe up around Mount Meru.
That's Doug. Doug would know what tribe he's in.
Okay.
I think it was Para, wasn't he? I mean,
It's
Yuta?
somewhere up in Meru for sure. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's Para.
Yeah.
And they spoke Para, but they also spoke Swahili. So, and they spoke good English.
John Hurley in the comments put a link to your photographs on your website, which are really beautiful and maybe a little easier to see full screen. I was wondering, and I'll put that link also in the YouTube comments when we post this on YouTube. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about camera equipment, especially lenses that you use.
Oh, well, I mean, you can go all the way from like a 400 all the way up to like a 600. Myself, I shoot with a 1DX Canon, 1DX Mark II, and then I have a 400 millimeter prime with
Just a prime. Yeah.
usually a 1.4 extender on it. And that's generally what I shoot with because I usually hand hold. So I generally don't like a big honking lens to haul around. I'm not a young guy anymore. I'm really getting old. Yeah.
And 400
My
with the
knees can't
extender is
take it.
enough to get the birds.
It's more than enough.
Okay.
And in general, if you have a good guide, then he's able to get fairly close, within range of. You don't need a 600 generally. It probably wouldn't hurt to have a 500. A 500
Right.
would probably be really good. But I do fine with the 400 with the extender.
The fact that you're doing this without a tripod is impressive. I'm just wondering, were any of these images cropped?
Well, the nice thing is you got these vehicles, with an open top.
Yeah.
And they have these bean bags, and you throw the big bean bag up on the top lead.
To stabilize the camera.
And stabilize the camera just like a tripod. It's perfect.
Right. And the vehicle is a blind, essentially. The
It's a
animals
blind.
are probably used to it.
They're
Yeah.
used to it.
Excellent.
Well, that's
I
fantastic.
think
Did you see
we've
more
covered all of the questions in the chat. Did anybody else have any more questions they wanted to type in?
Looks not. So I guess, John, I want to thank you so much for talking to us and sharing this incredible journey and the history at the beginning of the tribes, and the history of Tanzania, and the geography, and the fact that the rift is going to cleave off that portion of the continent was fascinating.
Mhm.
Your collection of birds and animals and stories is wondrous. So thank you so much for sharing it with us. And just a round of applause,
Good job, John.
everybody, for a
Great.
Thank you.
fantastic show.
Vamos, John.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm glad we got to hear from Doug and Gail too.
Yes.
Good to see you both. So we're gonna sign off in a moment, but I want to remind everybody that this session has been recorded and will be available on the website and on YouTube in the next day or so. So you'll be able to revisit any sections you'd like. John will be available, I'm sure, to answer questions in the future, and visit his website. There's more than one John Richardson in the world, and several of them are. But as far as I'm concerned, there's only one John Richardson, and that's the one that's been talking tonight. So thank you so much for stopping by our speaker series, and everybody enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time. So good night, everybody.
Night.
Night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
thanks, John. Good presentation.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
John.